30 million people a month come to BuzzFeed looking for content to share. We're exclusively focused on creating shareable content for both brands, individuals, and all different kinds of content that our editors create. So we're all about sharing and we're all about social.
And did you feel, as the company that's so importantly tied to sharing, feel like today, after what Facebook had to say, that they are the place that you must spend the most time going forward?
Well, we believe social advertising is really the new starting point. I personally believe that all display advertising will eventually be social, and I was keen to hear what was happening with their social ad products, the sponsored story products, because that's really a focus of what we do at BuzzFeed. We only work with brands that have content. We work with them in kind of native in-stream units and focus on getting that content shared. So I wanted to hear how they were doing with those products, both as kind of a comp for us and also because we are a large buyer of Facebook ads, sponsored stories through the ads API as well.
And I mean, not to put you on the spot, but Sheryl Sandberg, the #2 at Facebook, was highlighting all the great examples of sponsored stories. She went on to say that social advertising makes up less than half of their business. And then Dave Ebersman, the CFO, said, you know, before we get ahead of ourselves, analysts, you know, sponsored stories is a very new thing for us. I mean, how much of their advertising business do you think is coming from stuff like sponsored stories?
Well, I mean, I think it's somewhere between what Sheryl said, which was, she said less than half of their advertising was socially enabled, and then David Ebersol said single-digit percentages are sponsored stories. So I think we're talking about a very small percent. The business is basically in transition right now to their core product. So I think it's tiny, but the performance is stupendous. I mean, first of all, the performance across the business is what Sheryl highlighted, is that 50% of advertisers are getting a 3x return on their ROI, and 70% of advertisers, 70% are getting a 3x return, and 50% are getting a 3x return. So the products are working, and we've seen the click-through rates and interaction rates on both sponsored stories on BuzzFeed, our kind of native units, and on Facebook as well, significantly outperform standard units. And I think that was all validated today on the call.
I mean, before we go, give us an idea of the kind of content that you have found to be successful. I say that because Mark Zuckerberg made the point that social ads are effective when the content is interesting. What have you learned through the content that has been most effective with BuzzFeed?
Well, we always like brands to have portfolios of content. That gives us, you know, a chance for one piece or multiple pieces to really outperform. But it has to be interesting, quizzical, surprising, something that gives an individual something novel to learn about the brand. And we found that not only is that the kind of content that gets shared, whether it's, you know, eco-imagination content for GE or information about hybrid vehicles for Toyota, but as long as there's a pool so that we can optimize for whatever's being shared the most, you typically find that this moves minds. Individuals want to share it. On the call, Mark said actually that the kind of information you get from a friend is the best kind of advertisement. Sheryl Sandberg said that social advertising is word of mouth. I'm not sure the adjective she used, but we use the term word of mouth on steroids. You know, so typically we just find that these are the elements that make to a great social advertising campaign.